Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all for this virtual protest gathering of Dalit, Bahujan, and Muslim women. So, at times like this, it is necessary for us to use every medium and platform to register our voices. So, yes, I have another organizer with me, Areesha Khan. So Areesha Khan is doing Masters in Development Studies at IIT Madras. So I'll request Areesha Khan to introduce our meet and also our speakers to all of you. So yes.
Yeah, thank you, Oviya. Yeah, so as Oviya told that we have few students from IIT Guwahati who have organized this talk, and the idea behind this virtual gathering of Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi, Muslim women and men is to convey out loud and clear that Dalit women lives and bodies does not have to be sacrificed and assaulted before people would come to life. Seeing what the UP government and the state machineries are doing and looking at the patterns of the protests that are widely called by Dalit activists, both women and men, either offline or online, people still have the audacity to say that rape is rape and caste identity should not be brought in. And this is despite of the everyday experiences of discrimination on the basis of our caste, religious, and gender identity. Also, how important it is to hear to 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 Dalit women speaking about their everyday experiences of discrimination that they face in the professional and educational spaces, within their household spaces, outside their household spaces, whether it's rural areas or in urban spaces. In this talk, we would cover topics of caste atrocities and caste sexual atrocities in the lives of Dalit women. Also, we'll touch upon the topic as
So yes, I think Areesha she got a bad range. So let's go to the speakers now. So we have speakers like Kiruba Munusamy. She's an advocate at Supreme Court and also a political activist. And then Riya Singh, a scholar and an activist. And we have Lalitha here. Lalitha is a PhD scholar at IIT Madras. And Kalaivani, who is the elected representative of GSCASH at Hyderabad Central University. And we have Keerthana, General Secretary of ASA at Hyderabad Central University, but they were yet to join. So first, let's move on to our first speaker, Kiruba Munusamy. So yes, ma'am. The forum is yours.
So do you want me to generally talk about
Yeah,
the
yes,
issue?
ma'am. Yes, we want to talk about caste-based sexual violence and caste atrocities that is being happening in recent times, and also since is back here.
So if it's not so disrespectful, I think as someone who is working on the ground and as someone who is leading Dalit Women Fight, Riya Singh should start our discussion, and I think it's what I think it's right. And Riya, and I think you deserve this. We all should listen to you for. I'm sorry, Oviya, and this is not to disrespect your protocol or something, but I think she has been on the ground and now she is leading a development movement, and she knows the in and outs of all the caste-based sexual violences, and most of the time we don't give any leadership or importance to grassroots workers and people who are taking leadership. So Riya, please.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with Riya.
Okay, however, you can start because they gave me today to speak on feminism, so I'll bring in. So I think you want me to start?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for if we are to start with, like, we are coming here post this Hathras case, that we have decided that, we are doing these kind of meetings. So, like, the public outreach that I see on social media by various groups, I experience that I do not have that kind of outrage or that kind of anger which I'm able to see in other people. And then I was just inquiring myself that what is wrong with me that I'm not able to feel that kind of a agitation from within which other people are able to feel. And then I realized that that this case comes as a surprise maybe for the upper caste people. Like, for me, I read first news and I did not read any of the news later. I did not wanted to read these stories because they have a triggering impact on me. Like, I can't constantly keep reading of what's happening, what's happening, what's happening. However, from here and there, I would get updates that this is what's happening in the case. But then when it strengthened up that, we have to move out and take calls, it's then when I started inquiring about this whole case and started reading intensely. So what I figured out is that, these upper caste men and women, they have called this case as a parallel to Nirbhaya. And that was again giving me some discomfort that why is it always like this, that they would draw comparisons between this is like this is like that. And I started thinking on these lines that so many cases we look at field and they're of the same brutality. The brutality is similar, the cases are also similar across North India. Like, whether you go to Rajasthan, Haryana, UP, since these are like a sort of, I call them as punishment crimes. So these kind of, there are similarities when young women, Dalit women are raped. So a case in Haryana will have a similar things done to that particular victim, and we can see the similarities and the same things done to another victim who's in UP or another state district of Rajasthan. So I got like I felt like for this media and for the upper caste people, what matters is not the crime that is done on us. It is the comparison and this parameter they have said that if the Dalit woman's rape is brutal enough, uh, in comparison or equivalent to what happened to Nirbhaya, okay, let's raise in agitation and do something about this. However, they constantly forget that behind these brutal crimes, there is a reality and an everyday caste conflict that is happening between the Dalits and the upper caste people residing in an area. And this is precisely why so many cases which are registered under the SC/ST Act go unnoticed. Like, even in this case, the family had already filed a case prior to the rape happened. So there's a history of caste conflicts. So what I'm trying to basically explain is that a most brutal rape or a murder just doesn't happen suddenly when it is a caste rape. So there's a history to this incidents where our women would be working on fields, must be going in universities, which these people are seeing, and they are in a constant discomfort by looking at Dalit women and Dalit families living a dignified life. They might not be living a middle class or a rich life, but mere presence of basic resources, that they are not on the mercy of upper caste people and they are not no more serving these men and these Rajputs, bring so much of discomfort that they end up giving punishments why are doing these kind of activities. So across Haryana, Rajasthan and UP, Bihar, we last year took up 100 cases as a collective, and we realized that there are two patterns. One is that in Rajasthan, we see that as young as 2-year-old Dalit child is raped. So the two form of punishment is one, raping a small child, and second is a gang rape that are done on Dalit women. So these are the cases that top the charts when we compare that what kind of atrocities happen to Dalit women. And when we, try to look at the charge sheet of the cases filed, there's always a case where there is a prior history of the conflict between two communities. So the lapse from the administration to actually consider what they call as non-brutal or an argument over a hand pump is what is it? It's not a case where you will implicate somebody under the SC/ST Act, or what is it that he did not allow you to irrigate the field. Why are you filing a case under the SC/ST Act? These are the cases, I'm throwing examples that these are the sort of narratives or cases that come up which make the background of a bigger atrocity. But the police conveniently, and also the larger public opinion, is of a kind where they want to dismiss that these are actually a bigger thing that have to be considered by the systems, and people should be booked in order to prevent the bigger atrocity or the more brutal atrocity on Dalit people and community. So this is one thing that the police and the public opinion, one, we are seeing this outrage happening. Social media, the feminist groups, the women groups, even these upper caste men are, agitating and registering their protests on social media and news channels. However, when we are demanding a substantial change via like important policies, like reservation is what will ensure a representation. So these women and men, upper caste women and men, are talking about that Dalit people should get representation without talking about reservation. So, and then they're also talking about access to justice, and crime should not happen on Dalit women without placing the importance of the SC/ST Act in the place. So what I am trying to convey is that until unless the focus is shifted back to the centrality and the importance of SC/ST Act and the affirmative actions, this problem cannot be resolved. So upper caste people's agitation and writing in favor of us and giving spaces to us in media does not really will lead to a substantial change for a longer run until they stand with us in actually challenging the discourse which is against the mainstream public discourse is against the reservation policy. Mainstream public discourse is definitely 100% against the SC/ST Act. So when we demand these substantial changes, all the upper caste people come on roads and come on social media protesting that, okay, these provisions should not be implemented. Like what we saw in why the 2nd April incident happened, when this bench of judges said that a large number of false cases are being registered, so we should quickly remove the provision of immediate bail and immediate arrest and no bail. However, these play a very important role. Like even in Hathras case, I think this atrocity could have been prevented if one of those perpetrators was not out there but inside the police station, because he was booked under the SC/ST Act. So what I'm trying to say is that these solidarities that we are seeing today will not work. We get it that something has really gone wrong and a very brutal atrocity has been committed on one of our sisters. But if the upper caste people and upper caste feminist movement is really keen in supporting and giving spaces to us in media and organizing which supports are two major policies, which is the provision of affirmative actions via reservation that ensures our decent representation, fair representation, and second is the SC/ST Act, and all the provisions should be implemented and also new amendments should be accepted. So this is how we can move forward if we are to address the rising atrocities, and it is the only way when as a Dalit woman activist, I'll be able to actually trust the solidarities of upper caste women and upper caste men. Yeah, I'll end here.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your views. I think Areesha, can you listen me? So yes, like so. Next, shall we go to Kiruba, ma'am?
Yes,
Now,
yes.
yeah, yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for organizing this today because this is very much needed. And I usually, whenever there is a caste atrocity, we are put in a position to prove that it's caste based and how it's motivated by the caste supremacy. And others mute. I'm hearing my own voice.
No, we can hear you.
No, it's echoing. I'm hearing my own voice, but now it's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. So whenever there's a caste atrocity and especially sexual violence committed against the Dalit women, we are put in a position where we have to prove that it's caste based and motivated by the caste supremacy, and how the invoking SAST Act is important and all other things. But it's really tiring, and especially in the past 3-4 days when I've been asked by the journalist to say why caste is important in Hathras case, I was totally exhausted, and I even burst out with many journalists. So I think they all know how caste atrocities happen and how caste is very much prevalent in 2020. And but the fact is they don't want to acknowledge that the fact caste is a primary issue, and how it's encouraging and enabling caste atrocities and sexual violences against Dalits and Dalit women. And that sort of hypocrisy or cunningness to not admit that caste exists is what the primary or primal focus or discussion that's been on the television as well. So if you take the first 2 days of any television debates, Ramdas Atavale, Chandrasekhar Asha, Jignesh Mevani, everybody was invited, but they were asking what was Ramadas Atavale doing when this girl was brutalized in Uttar Pradesh, as if he's UP's chief minister, or as if he has, he's been elected the prime minister of the states, or if he's been the leader who dictated the Thakur men to commit such a gruesome offense. But then I realized it's just not their hypocrisy, but it's been the culture of this country to deny and not acknowledge caste-based violences, especially sexual violences against Dalit women. And this culture, which is embedded in social, caste, and gender hierarchies, have been having a great influence on the state machinery and the judiciary as well. So when this particular incident happened, Hathras case happened, I was not even able to tell this as Hathras case, as some non-living thing, or as I'm identifying to a table or a water bottle. No, she's a human being and she's one of us and she's our kid. And I won't call my kid with a village name or with some non-living third gender terms or whatever it is. I mean, I didn't mean to say third gender as transgender, but as an object. I wouldn't call my daughter as an object, even if she's been brutally raped. And I honestly believe our dignity is not just in concealing the identity of the victim. Our dignity is something else. They cannot give us by concealing the identity or something. And if you look at the journey of the Dalit movements, and we have been historically fighting for right to dignity. Our fight was always been for dignity, has always been for dignity. And I think all these things made me realize that this is just not one brutal incident of rape, but it is a pattern of impunity. It is the collusion that the state, the legal system have been doing to Dalits for a very long time. They have colluded with the perpetrators, and they have always tried to protect the dominant caste perpetrators. And this has been repeating again and again. And every time people look at it as a news, but for us, it's like how many others to lose, how many sisters to lose. And usually I don't celebrate or glorify the term sisters within Dalit community, because I know this Dalit sisterhood is most of the times not true. We all have our own differences. We all have different experiences, and most of the time we are also taking leaderships because of the accessibility we have. So there are so many differences between us, but this time I honestly felt that I have lost one of my sisters. So that emotion was coming out, and it was truly heartbreaking, and it was very painful. And yesterday when I was talking to a journalist, I was crying for a very long time, because when you talk to so many people about this incident, may it be on a television show or to a journalist for an article over telephone, you are keep thinking about the incident, about the violence, how it happened, and how it was allowed, who enabled it, and how these structures have been enabling such violences against Dalits, and all these things made me burst out. And then I again thought of the cases that have come up before the Indian judiciary, which have been decided in favor of the upper caste, dominant caste perpetrators. So the first time when I read Madras case, and of course, if we have to follow the protocol or the direction of the Supreme Court, we can't even name Madura. But I think I'm very comfortable in identifying a Tukaram case as Madura. So when the first time I read the Supreme Court and the District Court judgments in the Madura case, I saw how courts were, uh, you know, consigns and other things are totally different, but they were honestly blind. They were honestly blind about the caste issues, caste-based discrimination, and whatever it is. And their only motto was to protect the perpetrators. And if you look at the kind of narration or observation that's been made at the judgment, it's even more brutal than the incident. So if you take Madura's case, the police officials were in duty, and they have they have raped her in the custody. Two policemen have raped her in the custody, and they were drunk. It was very clear. But the lower court, Sessions Court, and the Supreme Court says that she is a tribal woman, so she's habituated to such sexual intercourses, and who knows, she might even initiated this incident. So from this one observation of the Supreme Court, I was able to see how caste prejudiced the Indian judiciary is. But lucky for the upper caste woman, unfortunately, our Madura, who had to give away her dignity, her right to life, right to whatever fundamental rights that's been guaranteed by the Constitution, the criminal law was amended in 1983, and Section 114 of the Evidence Act was introduced. And also there are many sections which were enacted and introduced, added to Section 376, which deals with rape. And only after Madura's incident, only after Madras Supreme Court judgment, which came in September 1979, which said because she was used to sex, she might have incited the police who were drunk on duty to have intercourse with her. Now, custodial rape is a punishable offense in India. And because of Madura, the burden of proof was shifted from the accuser to the accused. Once the intercourse was established, there was no need to be, visible injuries or any aberrations. Just an intercourse, establishment of an intercourse is more than enough. And also the in-camera proceedings, which most of the upper caste women are enjoying today, and the prohibition of disclosure of victim identity and tougher sentences for rape were all introduced after Madura. And we all know what happened in Vishaka case as well. Bavari Devi, though she is not a Dalit woman and she's from the most backward caste, her case was also another case which was caste motivated and which led to the enactment of new law which prevents sexual harassment at workplace and protects women. And even during the judgment by the Sessions Court, the court believed that the husband of Babari Devi wouldn't have allowed such a thing happen, or middle-aged men wouldn't have raped someone like Babari Devi. And since she didn't had any injury again, she could have consented. So many things were raised in the courtroom, but finally, because of Babari Devi's fight, we had a very progressive law now in the country which prohibits sexual harassment at the workplace. But let's leave aside Madura, let's leave aside Babri Devi's case, both the cases in which there are progressive laws that have come up in the end as a result. But there are so many cases which didn't reach the Supreme Court, firstly. Secondly, there are so many cases which didn't even get recorded, which even get registered. And there are so many cases in which, despite complaint having received by the police officials, the victims were not trusted. The Dalit families were not trusted. And why these families were not trusted? It's because of the caste prejudice that's been very persistent on the minds of the police officials, the institution, the machinery. And the second reason is most of the people who are sitting in power and all the authorities, 90% of the authorities, especially who are sitting as sub-inspectors and inspectors who are in the position to receive any complaint, are from upper caste, from the same caste as the perpetrator. This is one primary reason. And the other reason is that even if a complaint is received, and even if there are visible injury marks and there are obvious evidences for the offense to have been committed, the police officials lodge counter complaints, and there are other cases in which the victim herself was abused by the police because she came to lodge a complaint against a sexual offense. So they took advantage of all this. But despite the fact that these many cases have actually happened, but only a few cases have reached the court, and out of those few cases, only very few cases have reached the Supreme Court. The number of cases that have resulted in acquittal is very, very low, because the legal system also totally failed Dalit women. It's not just the machinery, it's not just the government or the law enforcement agency. And if you look at the important massacres or the cases that have reached the high courts, let alone the cases that have ended up with the trial court, there are certain cases which have gone to the high court and the Supreme Court. And from 1968, I have a list of 10 cases probably. And in Keerthana case, 16 women were murdered. So there were other people, other men and children murdered, but I'm just focusing on how many women were murdered and raped. So in Keerthana, 16 women were murdered, and the High Court of Madras released every accused person. And in Karamchedu, 20 were injured, 6 killed, Chundur, 8 killed, and Batanitola, 19 women were killed in 1996, and High Court of Patna released all the accused persons. And in Lakshmanpur Pate, in 1997, 27 women were killed, apart from 16 children. And out of these 27, 8 women were pregnant when they were murdered. And 5 women had their breasts chopped off, and the High Court of Patna released all the accused persons. And in Shankar Bihar, 1999, 5 women and 7 children and a 10-month-old baby was murdered. And again, the District Court of Bihar released, and the case was said to have been appealed before the High Court, but we don't know if the case has been decided or not. And again, in Miapur, Bihar, 13 women were killed. and 9 out of 10 accused were released by the High Court of Patna. And in Kairlanchi, we know 4 members of the family was brutalized, and mother and daughter were paraded naked and raped, and the Nagpur bench of the High Court of Bombay convicted, but it clearly observed there is no caste angle to the case. And if you look at the judgment of Udumalapeta Shankar's honor killing, which was captured on CCTV camera because it happened on a broad daylight in the market area, the High Court of Madras released the father who was convicted, and the mother was already acquitted by the trial court. And there was another uncle. He was also convicted by the trial court, but the High Court of Madras during COVID-19 released the father and uncle, and the mother has been already released. All of them were acquitted from the case, and the only people who were convicted were hired murderers. And if you read that long judgment of 300-500 pages, there is not even one single observation as to how this is a case of caste atrocity, because the court did not observe it for so many reasons. And I think the primary reason is that they didn't want to. They know it. It's not that the court was not informed of the fact, or the court did not have the knowledge if this case has happened because of caste, intercaste marriage, or whatever it is. The court knew, but the court did not want to convict somebody for caste motivated honor killing, firstly. And secondly, the court, during observing the incidents that happened, the court failed to observe that the Prevention of SC/ST Atrocities Act clearly says that it has to be presumed. There is a presumptive clause in the SC/ST atrocities case, like it is for the rape cases. If a woman is raped, the court should presume that the offense has happened. The court should put the burden on the accused person and not on the accuser. So this presumptive clause is present in the SC/ST Atrocities Act, and the court should have given this effect to this presumptive clause, and it should have presumed that the offense have happened because of caste supremacy. But the court did not. And there is also another political angle to it. Whenever an honor killing of a Dalit youth or a Dalit man has happened, the media and the feminist movement, they all focus it as an injustice cast to the upper caste woman who married this Dalit man. So just by focusing the entire limelight or entire discussion on the upper caste woman, the family of Shankar was totally neglected. Even in other cases, the family situation or what happened to this Dalit family after that boy was killed, because if you closely look at the honor killing cases, most of the men are first son, eldest son in the family. And if you closely look, the entire family have dedicated their time, energy in educating this first kid. They would have believed that this kid would go to college, educate himself, get a degree, go to work, earn money, and somehow help this family develop, uplift themselves in the society. But what happens is, this 22 years old upper caste woman who cannot handle the casteist or misogynic situation in their families, they somehow make this men take a decision to marry them immediately, leaving the family at the same risk as they have been even before this boy getting graduated. And in the end, all of them dies at the age of 20-23. So I think honor killing, which is primarily an issue of dominant caste, Brahmin dominant caste women, the lives that have been sacrificed so far is of Dalit men. And of course, many dominant caste women have also sacrificed their lives because of getting intercaste marriages. But the feminist movements are not looking into this caste issue. And the Indians who have migrated to different countries have taken caste with them, as Dr. Ambedkar stated in Caste in India in 1916, as a result of which the United Kingdom has enacted a special law against forced marriages and honor-based violence. And how long, I mean, if you count the number of cases that have happened in the UK, it should be very, 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 very minimal than the honor killings or the forced marriage offenses that's been happening in India, in our own country. But I don't see any feminist movement fighting for bringing such a law to protect their own women from this caste based honor killings, because they are very invested in their own privileges, and they don't want to protect the life of upper caste women. And in the end, even after a Dalit man sacrificing his life, it again becomes an issue of upper caste women, and the total caste issue is diverted to somewhere to feminist issue. And this is what happens in sexual violence cases as well. And if you look at the caste panchayats and other illegal platforms that's been ordering such honor killings or gang rapes, even in 2015, we can't forget the two sisters were ordered by the caste panchayats in the very same UP for the reason that their brother eloped with somebody, and Amnesty International took it to an international forum, and in the end, finally, the Supreme Court granted an order stopping the caste panchayat from doing such atrocities. But my question was, if the case had been taken to the Supreme Court by Kiruba Munusamy, who has no reputation as Amnesty International, would have the courts considered it as a genuine plea? Because most of the time courts think we are lying, we are bluffing. Such things cannot happen in the world, because their families have not faced it, and this will not ever happen to their daughters, their sisters. So we are bluffing. This is what the courts have been thinking of. But if you closely watch the kind of judgments, it also gives another notion. I mean, there are other localized notion of justice coming from these judgments. The rape cases, Pavri case, and also Madura case, the courts have always been leaning to the caste-based, caste supremacy, caste hegemonic way of justice, and it believes that sometimes the kids, especially who are eloping and getting married, shouldn't have got intercaste marriages, shouldn't have fallen in love with Dalit men. And finally, this revenge rapes of our sisters for their daughters eloping with someone else results in a pattern of sexual violence, that's targeted sexual violence against Dalit women. So there is a cost, cost that Dalit communities pay for the kinds of how do you call it, the imprisonment their upper caste families provide for their daughters. So when all of such things were happening, this caste normativity is also in a way is happening through jurisprudence in the legal discourse. All I see in the attitudes is that the judges who are sitting in the judiciary doesn't want upper caste women to get intercaste marriages, and it has reflected in so many cases. If you take Divya and Ilavarasan case in Tamil Nadu, the judges forcibly mediate the case. I mean, the girl clearly says, no, I want to live with Ilavarasan. And the court forcibly mediates, and as a result of this mediation, after 1 hour of talking to the mother, the daughter says, no, I will go with my family. I don't want to live with them. And in the end, Ilavarasan is found dead. and her own father, he committed suicide, or or the 1 year community forced him to commit suicide, or they killed him. We don't know. Okay, in another case, again in Tamil Nadu, the court says no marriage can be solemnized by lawyers like me. Okay, because in India, especially after BJP came into power, register marriages are really difficult. So what they do is, either they go get married in a temple, or if they want to register, they in Tamil Nadu we have something called self-respect marriages, which can be solemnized by Periyar movements. They have a registered places, or there are times where lawyers like me, we solemnize weddings and we have power for it. But the High Court of Madras says no, lawyers cannot solemnize this, and you have to go to register office. And in Tamil Nadu, the register department released an order asking for parents concerned, or bring any of the parent to the register office for registering these marriages. And this sort of compulsion to bring parents or to get parent consent was forced by the department and by the high court orders like Madras high courts, have led somewhere the legal jurisprudence on register marriages and intercaste marriages. And somehow recently one petition was filed in the Supreme Court, in which the question of 30-day notice in the Special Marriage Act, especially when most of the couples from different communities are getting married, different religion are getting married, they have to register it through Special Marriage Act. And the Special Marriage Act mandates 30-day notice, and all the details will be publicized in the register office, and anyone who could see the detail can object to it. And this petition was brought to the Supreme Court, and the CJI, who is sitting in the Supreme Court now, he asks, what would be the feeling if a daughter gets married without the knowledge of the parents? This is coming from the Supreme Court, the present CJI. So this clearly shows how the judges who are sitting in the Supreme Court, despite the fact there are so many precedents which says any woman is having the absolute right to choose their partner and absolute right to have choice in their marriages. And there is also another precedent in Shakti Vagini case, in which the Supreme Court told that Kap Panchayats cannot exist and honor killing is brutal, brutal crime and rare of the rarest crime. And it also goes on to frame a guidelines against honor killings and so many things. But the CJA, irrespective of the fact that there is a precedent, he says how it is justice, because the parents are worried that their children are getting married without their knowledge. And why I am saying this is, so this is how the judges exercise their discretion in cases like caste, atrocity, or honor killings. So, and today in the morning, I posted it on my social media. So Dr. Ambedkar says, police and the magistracy are kith and kin of the caste Hindus. So they always exercise their discretion for the benefit of caste Hindus. And if a Dalit takes a complaint to the police station, the police will not register the complaint because he is working for the caste Hindus. And if you look at the magistrates, he will say that there is no credibility in your witness, there is no credibility in your evidences, and there is no likelihood of guilt in the case. So what have you brought is nothing but trash. So this observation of Dr. Ambedkar back in 1900s, in the early 1900s, is now proved to be true by the Hathras police and the Hathras magistrate. And we all saw the video where the Hathras magistrate says, no, this is what happens, but don't worry, if you are taking such a decision, I'll be there to protect you. That's what he says. And I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate, the Allahabad High Court has taken a sumo to cognizance of burning her body, abducting, and not providing the last rites that the family deserves, and not fulfilling the last wish of the Hathras victim, that she has to be in her home. And out of all the procedures which has been abused, from the registration of case or failure to register the case when there was a past complaint between both the families, and from the behavior of the district magistrate, and from the questions that's been coming from the social media and from the media houses, how caste is relevant and why caste is relevant, all I could say is this is clearly not going to end, because caste is, caste is somewhere has become their it has become air they breathe, it has become blood in their body, it has become as something which is inseparable from the upper caste Hindus. So when caste has become inseparable from the caste Hindus, so what could the judiciary that is filled by the same caste Hindus, what could the police or the law enforcement agencies filled by the caste Hindus could do or would render justice to the Dalit communities? I don't see any point in it. And I think unless and until caste is annihilated, and unless and until the question of caste is actively discussed, I don't want caste to be discussed when our sister dies, I don't want caste to be discussed when there is a Dalit body with all brutalities and all evidences, and which need to provoke their sympathy, empathy, whatever it is. So I don't want caste to be discussed on this passive manner. I want an active discussion, an honest discussion on about caste, in order to come to a solution. And I also think unless the root cause of caste is annihilated, there's going to be no justice in any atrocity that's been committed, and this situation is going to be worse. Because looking at Uttar Pradesh, it's very clear that the Uttar Pradesh being it has become a torture hub for Dalits and Muslims. It has become a torture hub, and for women, especially Dalit women. And if you look at the number of sexual violences last year, it is breathtaking. No one can believe that many offenses could have committed, and that many offenses could have evaded the interference of state machinery, because it's run by a religious leader. Dr. Ambedkar had clearly told, when this country is to become a Hindu nation, and if it's going to be ruled by a Hindu religious leader, then there is nothing left. And when I was reading Ambedkar day before yesterday, he had told with all sorrow that we have been treated lesser than cats and dogs in this country. But now I see we have not even been treated as like dogs and cats. We have become worse than that. So this situation is going to become more worse, and the government is very much interested in harassing and witch hunting the human rights activists and Dalit journalists. And the government is very much interested in building Hindu temple and making this an Hindu nation, and it's in no way going to interfere in it with the justice or violences that's been committed. So this is where we bring a movement which fights for annihilation of caste, and this is where that movement happens to be Dalit movements that have been traditionally fighting for their dignity and equality. And I think this is where we Dalit women come to the front and take the leadership and lead the fight forward. And I don't see any point in allying with upper caste women, and in the long run they tend to appropriate our leaderships, they tend to appropriate our spaces. So if they want to participate in our movement, let them be just someone who stands behind and watches. I don't want to even ally with them. I'm fed up with all their alliances. And now finally, after going through the this emotional drain, I would call it an emotional drain. So after going through this much of emotional drain after Hathras case, I don't even hope that justice will ever prevail in this country. I'm totally hopeless, and I'm sorry if I'm making you all feel hopeless as well, but this is the reality. I'm feeling hopeless, And if somebody is there to tell me, no, there is hope and we could do something, I would be really grateful for them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kiruba ma'am. Uh, yeah, ma'am, you very rightly you pointed out at the impunity that the state and the state machineries enjoy uh, over the lives of Dalit women, of Dalit men, and over the lives of Adivasi women and men, over the lives of Muslim women and men, and uh, and this whole these whole experiences of violence that are committed by the state on us, it's not it doesn't stop at that. It is always beyond that. And this it translates into our everyday lives. It translates into our everyday experiences of how we interact with our classmates, how we interact with our colleagues, how we interact with people in the public spaces, whether it is in rural areas or urban areas, wherever be it. So next in line we have Lalitha with us, who is a PhD scholar at IIT Madras. Lalitha has recently completed her master's in sociology from HCU. She was her class topper, and yeah, she will be speaking up on uh, assertion of identity of Dalit women identity within the educational spaces, and the everyday struggle of living, of existing in the spaces that are not meant for us, or at least they are uh, they're made in such a way that we do not feel we do not feel that we are part of these spaces. Lalitha, I would hand it over to you.
Thank you, Areesha, for the kind introduction, but I lost you in middle. Your
Yeah,
network is poor, I think. Like I understood that you are asking me to speak on the about Dalit women in educational spaces and everyday experiences, I think. But okay, okay, I didn't expect that I'll be asked to talk on this educational experience. I'll try to cover up some everyday, I mean, experiences of a Dalit woman. First of all, after Kiruba's long speech, I don't know what to say, because it's so difficult to share our grief, our anger together in this moment, in this pandemic situation. uh, as she said, and one of my friend from TIS also posted that it's so difficult when we are keep on speaking of this kind of atrocities happening on the Dalit women and Dalit men. So it's, we are looking around what is happening to our fellow Dalits, not only in this pandemic, but for centuries, what is happening to our brothers and sisters. And especially in this pandemic, in this lockdown, how many of our brothers and sisters have lost their job? How many of our students have couldn't go to continue their education due to online systems? And how many of our people are killed due to caste clashes in the villages and other places? So the question is, like when the whole world is under the lockdown, but the atrocities on Dalits and marginalized community is not reduced. This corona, this pandemic didn't create even a single puncture in the existing dominant caste system. So like why this both incidents about this Hathras and Balrampur, both Dalit women are we lost two Dalit women in a very brutal way, and we all rise in rage, we are in anger, we are confused how to express it in this pandemic. We are searching for mediums to express it anyhow, to stand for them, to get their justice. But this is not the only Black Day for us. This is not the only one incident we are rising in anger. I feel each and every day, somewhere, each and every one of us are facing the Black Day in their life. I mean, I don't think there is only one Black Day in our life. There are so many Black Days, I think. So it's so insensitive. It's so insensitive to stand for one brutal incident. It's so insensitive to that we will to say that I'll stand only if something happened brutally. So what the most affected, the most vulnerable people, we used to always identify the most vulnerable, most affected are this Dalit, especially Dalit women. Why this sexual violence? Why this vulnerability is imposed on Dalit women body? There are many reasons for this oppression, this sexual violence, caste violence on Dalit women. But mainly there are two reasons I think. One is the fear they inhibited on every Dalit community, for every Dalit woman. They are made to vulnerable because they are feared to speak out. That's what today's our topic is also. Dalit women speak, and we rise in rage and all. We were we were uh, we were grown up in a fear to speak, to complain. I don't know how many of us had the habit of complaining from our childhood. To my knowledge, I have never complained. Whatever happens, I have never complained to others. So its first thing is the inhibited fear, the imposed fear on us, and that's what the sexual violence on that is takes place. I think because they are assured, the upper caste men, the upper caste society is very clear that Dalit women won't tell, they won't speak, they won't complain to anyone, whatever is happening to them. So this I feel as one reason. And another reason is the caste is in Dalit women's body. So how can the upper caste men can feel their hegemonic when their domination is only when they're exercising their caste power over the Dalit women's body. So how why this Dalit woman body is so much concerned. When you take this Dalit woman body is always meant to be punishable for any acts done by the Dalit community, or in a village or rural panchayats or something. If whatever small mistake is also committed, Dalit women bodies are ruled, meant to be punished in one way or the other way. Dalit women are forced to eat the human defecation. They are forced to walk naked. They are forced to gang rape by the village panchayats. And if the men commits the crime and get abscond, the Dalit women are taken under the custody, police custody, and so they feel that their caste power lies in punishing or oppressing, abducting Dalit women body. So when we see the Dalit women's body, what was the narrative? What was the idea of identifying a Dalit woman body previously? It was like impure, ugly, in a grotesque manner. The Dalit woman's body is depicted. And how it is changed to, how it is the depiction shifted to the this now how the narrative is happening is the sympathizing, victimizing, and submissive, so pity. How this narrative shifted, how when we all are got shifted from untouchables, impure, ugly to victim, pity, and submissive in nature or in the society. So whose narrative all this is, if we see, when the in the period of reformization, or in the time of this, when the print culture started, when the history was written, was started to write, they want to write the history. So when they are when they are writing the history, when they are revisiting the history, they see how Dalit women are oppressed, how Dalits are treated. So they find out, the reformist, the nationalist reformist or British reformist, they found out that how Dalits are treated inhuman, how the acts violence are inhuman, and it should not be continued. The untouchability should not continue. So they want this is how the untouchability, the impure, is shifted to this sympathize and victimize. So they are victimizing the centuries of oppression. We have undergone the centuries of oppression. So they are now sufferers. So we are now living as in the identity of a sufferers. This is the narrative of the upper caste reformist, because the reformist, they want the Dalit women to be saved from this oppression because they are victimized. They are in a pathetic centuries of violation, oppression. So they are now to be protected, safeguarded by the upper caste women and men. So this is why we are sympathized, the romanticization of our body from a negative depiction to a sympathetic depiction. But what is the background of this? What is the background of this oppression? Where is the structural oppression? Where is the structural inequality in this narration, in this depiction? So this shift from the pity and grotesque depiction to the victimized suffering is totally upper caste narrative, and it deviates us from the main question. The crux of the problem is the structural oppression, caste oppression. So it totally deviates from the caste power. They enjoy the caste power enjoyed by the upper caste women and men, because they created this narration. If we are going to fall prey for this kind of depiction, keep on victimizing, and in a narration of that Dalit women should be represented by the upper caste women, that Dalit women has to be civilized because they don't know how to speak, they don't know how to be the leader of any movements. If we are going to fall for this, and not only this incident, not only the previous incidents, for the continuous loss of our people, it will continue. It will be keep continuing. We will be keep losing each and every day, each one of us. So it's not only the lives we are going to lose. It's the hope. It's the whatever rights our leaders bought for us. We are going to lose each and every day. So the main thing is addressing the structural oppression, structural inequality. So this is what they miss. All the Savarna feminists, all the upper caste activists, they miss this narration. They don't want this to be addressed because they want Dalits to be victimized. If this is addressed seriously, we might get a solution. We might get we might address the issue on the basis of why it is happening. The reason of this is how it's happened, this is why it happens. So if we didn't address, and we are totally deviating to other thing, and this will keep continuing. We might rise in rage, we might express our anger for this particular issue, but what is the solution? Will we can we stop this in after 10 years? Can we stop this after a century? No, it will continue. It didn't address in this perspective. And one second. Yes. So the differences, where are the differences? The usual narrative says the caste, class, and gender differences are never seen as a difference. It's always seen as a same, similar one. They don't address the differences. So in case of these two incidents, the perpetrators, the culprits are not from the elite class. To discuss this issue based on the elite class perspective. We can't say that the perpetrators are from the upper class or from the so and so company or industrial businessmen, like that. They are also from the poor poor class. But what place in them? What makes the entire Hindutva BJP, RSS, Yogi Adityanath's government to defend the perpetrators? What makes them to defend the perpetrators? It's the Thakur caste, the caste identity of the perpetrators. So unless we discuss the caste violences from the structural inequality perspective, it will never end. And the vulnerability, when we talk, we can also say that Dalit women are vulnerable. Then why don't you want them to be identified as vulnerable? Dalit women are vulnerable in the sense they are unaware. As I said, the fear and the continuous societal oppression on them. They were never treated as equal, to raise their to deny anything, to show their discomfort, or to show their anger to a powerful dominant upper caste men or upper caste women. So how they will show if it is the legal law is the only safeguard for us. They are unaware. They are unaware of this rules, laws. So they have been exploited by their unawareness, by the policemen, by the village panchayats, and so most of the time those cases were not even considered. Nowadays we are at least getting to know these incidents are happening, but there are a lot of incidents unreported. We each one of us live in an unreported society, unreported family, friends we have. So this is what I thought to express, but but you asked me to express on the educational spaces. I am not aware of that. I'm sorry that you didn't tell me here. But in educational spaces, if we see the same thing, we were if you see from the childhood, we have never grown up in a situation that we will ask something, that we will raise our voice, not even raise our voice in anger, but even to speak, to show our presence or something. So in campus politics spaces, there is a position called GSCASH, Gender Sensitization Committee Against Sexual Harassment. It's predominantly dominated by this upper caste feminist, either by left, whoever comes, either by left or right. It's in the hand of the upper caste feminist. Though there will be a representation of a Dalit woman every year, but they are expected to be again submissive, again as a only as a representative. So usually Dalits are whichever organization or whichever part they are, whichever in programs or they are part of, they are expected to be only as an identity, as a count, as a representation, as you said, but not as a fullest performer. They don't want the active asserting Dalit women to be there. So it's actually the progressive women. It's a loss for them leaving this sexual harassment position, whichever position they may get or they may not leave. But they are so concerned about upholding this sexual harassment gender sensitization committee with them, because they strongly believe that only they can represent every woman, Dalit women, or in a progressive liberal way. Only they strongly believe this thing. And I from my experience, I think if they believe like that, and like I never seen any Dalit woman, like most of the reported cases from Dalit women, I have never seen most of the Dalit women are reporting their sexual harassment. Those things are not reaching to the marginalized, to the last student of the campus places. We can be happy at least we have some committee like this, but in most of the places we don't even have this kind of committee. So they don't even aware of they are aware, but they think it's not needed. So from my school, they usually I was tamed. I was grown up like that. Girls should not talk to boys. Maybe it might be in most of the schools, but there are students who break this norm. They speak, but I was so afraid to speak because we are forced to live in this norms. Others may break this rules and regulation, but Dalits are expected to, especially Dalit women are expected to live with the norms, live with the good name. Otherwise, as Kiruba mentioned, that they are like this, they are free to do this, they might have done like that. So we are in a position that we will not express anything. Whether we wish, we don't wish, we don't express the thing. That's what they expect Dalit women. Because so why other students break and the Dalit women are not breaking this kind of norms in schools, colleges? Because if they cannot blame, they cannot beat, they cannot punish the upper caste women, the next day ultimately they bring their parents. But the uncomplained student are the Dalit students. They won't complain to their parents. So they can say anything, they can punish anything for even uncommitted mistake. Even you didn't commit the mistake, you can be easily blamed, you can be easily given manual works to do as a punishment. So it's totally different in even a girls' college. We in women's college also, we can't totally expect the feminist notion of making the girl students to be very powerful. No, if you take the women's colleges in Chennai, only few departments like social science departments speak about the feminism, and that too in a very conservative upper caste narratives of feminism. They speak. All the science departments and other departments, arts and science, engineering, especially engineering colleges, they are. We know about how engineering colleges works in Tamil Nadu with the properly dressed. You have to be pinned you have pin your shawls and comes in salwars. So this is the same thing for women's colleges, except one or two with the strict thing. So girls are always asked to behave properly, dressed properly, even in a girls' college, in a women's colleges. So when there is existing rules and regulations, when you see something as a higher thing, when you see education is important, when you had so much difficulty to enter into a space in getting something, you won't dare to commit a crime, you won't dare to commit a mistake which will cost your education or which will cost the purpose you were inside the something. So Dalit women are oppressed in each and even this kind of everyday things. We are oppressed. We are never dared to commit a crime, cross our borders, complain, say anything. So it's so difficult to break it immediately with one thing. But it's difficult to break it because we were not made to know about such things. That's the upper caste women, the feminist theories, they don't want Dalit women to know that they are oppressed. They framed all the rules, they framed all the theories in a way that Dalit women will be silent, in a way that Dalit women believe that they are only to be represented by the others, but they can't represent themselves. So this is how we all are going submissive and vulnerable, not speaking through our everyday basis, everyday lives. So the one thing I want to finish by saying that this structural, we need a structural change. We cannot keep fighting throughout our lives, throughout our other future generations, centuries, for each and every violations, harassments, murders happening on the caste violence is happening on Dalit communities. We need a structural change. This doesn't happen unless we organize ourselves, unless we have a clear mechanisms, manifestations for a longer term vision. That's it. Thank you, Jai Hind.
you, Lalitha. You have wonderfully covered almost all the aspects of our not only our engagement within educational spaces but outside it, and you very rightly pointed out that how structural it's my cat how structural changes are important, and I hope you can hear me. My internet is just breaking away. Yeah.
Yeah, continue, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's breaking, but
Yeah.
yeah, we can hear you.
So the importance of okay, the importance uh, of breaking and mending structures. But what becomes frustrating for for Dalit women, and I speak as a Muslim woman, is that every time we try to be a part of this of that space or the structure, we try to bring it down. We represent. Uh, of course, Savana feminists, according to Savana feminists, we do not represent the whole. But every time we do that, we are either brought down by, we're looked down upon as if we're not competent enough, or as if we do not, as if we very much made to feel alienated within those spaces and structures. But what is frustrating is that the responsibilities, why does it always lies on our shoulders? Why are we supposed to every time something happens, and why are we supposed to come out and to shout and to ask people to speak up for us? It's a long haul, but yeah. And so we have next speaker with us in line, who is Kalaivani, and she'll be sharing her experiences of her everyday lives and engagements within the educational spaces again. And yeah, I'll hand it over to
Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Yes, Kalai,
yeah, we
can
can
you
hear you.
turn on the camera?
No, not able to
Okay, fine, then you can
access
speak.
camera. Okay, so first of all, thanks for inviting me. It is like everybody has very much affected by these incidents, which has been happening throughout the years, not just with these two cases. It's like it affects everyone, especially the hearts of marginalized people. So I think I can share my views, not as a Bahujan woman, or as a woman. I think it would be more appropriate to speak as a GSCASH who has been working as a member of GSCASH since in the last year. So first, there are people usually ask me, like, why you are attaching this cases, like harassment cases or rape cases, why you are attaching it to caste based, to caste background. So I want to simply give them the answer that the simple reason is, still caste exists, still we witnessing caste atrocities, and still we find number of honor killing cases, especially in Tamil Nadu and some other states of So and I give when it compares to educational institutes and in GSCASH, I just want to explain you like how it differs with upper caste women and Dalit women when they come forward to give a complaint. And it has two components. First, when we see, are we given same kind of space or same kind of platform or an environment to express ourselves or express our views? This is a very important question I consider, because when people come to give a case in GSCASH, what they think is they question themselves hundreds of times whether should I give this complaint, because we have been brought up in a society which asks us to uh, tolerate everything. When it comes to marginalized people, it's an extreme condition. We asked to be more tolerated person. So people like they consult times whether this will be kept very secretly. So I'm talking about this issue from like when a upper caste to give a complaint, they themselves so much worried about giving a complaint. They themselves are not that much strong enough to file a complaint against these sexual harassment issues. So when we look into the marginalized people, it becomes more worse. Why I'm saying is, I'm not telling anything bad about this. Like, why I'm telling is, we come from a different background in which, like, we are not just us, right? We like we represent our whole community, like our whole family. It is not just going to affect this is what people consider, that is, I'm expressing their views. It's like I'm coming from a community. I'm the first generation learner. Maybe I'm the first one to be educated from my whole community background. So they consider, if something affects me, that is going to affect my whole community. So if I go and get into these kind of problems, then it will be a breaking point for my whole community to upward themselves. So this is the major problem while marginalized people or to restrict themselves to be to speak more about to speak more about these issues. So so, and another perspective, what others views of marginalized people to come forward, coming forward and expressing themselves or expressing what happened to themselves. So what others wish, is it their first thinking would be, is it happened to you? Like they consider, like only some beautiful woman could get harassed by a man, and they always tag it with marginalized people. So this is not right. Actually, this all of us knows very well. So and another main aspect that what I want to register is, like or marginalized people, or as a common person who comes from a very vulnerable background or very lower background. See, more than oppressed, more than upper caste people, like we are more exposed to society. like maybe we are the one who access public public more like so this we can see this in a from a point that so at some point people try to put it in like uh, their power over the oppressed people. This also we should be considered, I think. So as others said, like Lalitha said, it is like they this upper caste people, they don't want this Dalit women or the marginalized people to come out of their restrictions, right? They put some borderline to them. See, you should be with this level. If you come out, then you won't be you will face a lot of challenges. So they will be very friendfully or very good person to you till till you restrict yourself within that point. If you come out of that point, then how people behave with you will definitely change. So that aspect I want to convey. And then so again I could see recently I could see some statuses which focusing on we usually tell like we woman is raped. So this view has been little changed from among the educated students. Like now they started posting like ma'am raped a woman. So this obviously it is a good change, but I think we look into more we look into this issue more deeply. So what I think is what would be the solution. And ma'am Kripa ma'am was mentioning like somebody would be if they could give some solution to this it's like I had been thinking about like what can we find some solution to this. Like I find what I think is we need to obviously we need to change the mentality of men, uh, how they consider about these sexual harassment. What is the concept of sex, and what is the concept of consent and all. But another aspect what we should do is like I think we need more Pulan Devi in our society. Like we should raise our girls another Pulan Devi, okay, who is very mentally and very physically more powerful, and uh, who can fight back this upper caste people and every challenges, who can fight back them. So because we need to focus on both mentally and physically, because physically will obviously affect your mental health, and your mental stability, mental strongness will give you more physical strength. So this is very important when it comes to marginalized people. So we need to uh, brought up them so strong, and that is what I feel as of now, because we are not in a position to expect any change in the society. Like we are obviously we are trying for that, but when we consider these this situation, really as ma'am said, we really lost our hope. We are hopeless to expect anything from this people. So we need to strengthen ourselves. That should be more important, I think. So I will stop here. Thank you.
So, yes, that was really a wonderful talking to you all. It's like, when that night this thing was happened, like Hathras, like justice for Manisha was going trend on social media. It was really a difficult night. As Lalitha mentioned, it was not the first black day, or it was not the first hopeless night that we were facing. So that was a time when I approached Areesha, like, we have to talk with people like whom we can get hope. So when Kiruba ma'am was speaking, like, that she don't have hope or it's completely hopeless situation, what as a person, like, we are being in a central studying in a higher educational spaces, who are facing caste discrimination and religious discrimination, gender discrimination, in all our days, to see people like Lalitha, to see people like Kiruba ma'am are a hope. Like, you're giving us so much of hope for to fight against all of these things, to fight against, to voice out ourselves, to voice our emotions out, to voice, to we strongly stand against those Brahminical state and Brahmanism. So yes, so it's really great talking to you all. I really thank Kiruba and Lalitha and Kalaivani, Riya, and everyone for being part of this talk. And thank you so much.